from the family station, a beautiful reminder there is nothing like the presence of the Lord. Something happens when we're in His presence indeed. This is Love 101 FM, the family station. Stay with us. Good Morning Minister comes up in just a moment.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the developments in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Listen this Wednesday, June 21, as host, Minister of Information, the Honorable Robert Morgan, speaks with guest, the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, Deputy Speaker of the House and Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. Good Morning Minister, this Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101. Well, you heard right. Good Morning Minister will have as guest today the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, Deputy Speaker of the House and Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. But of course, you know, we always start with a song of encouragement. Minister of Information, the Honorable Robert Morgan. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this one for you.
Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. No matter how you feel, just speak the word and you will be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Gotta pat yourself on the back, yeah. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. So no matter how you feel, just be the word and you will. You will be healed. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to speak the word over yourself. Depression's all around, but God is present help. Oh, the enemies created walls, but remember giants they fall. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. I'll minister to you. I'll minister to myself. 'Cause life can hurt you so until you feel there's nothing left. How you feel. Just be the word. Speak the word, and you will be healed. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. As I minister to you, I minister to myself.
Good morning, Nadine. Thank you very much for that. Tell me a little bit about that song.
Sometimes you're going through something and you have to encourage yourself. You have to talk to yourself.
Yes.
And say, I'm going to get over this.
Wonderful.
And then you go to the word and the word say, lo, I am with you always. You just encourage yourself in the Lord.
So I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. Those on social media, particularly those on TikTok. I want to thank our listeners on Love 101 FM. We have a special guest this morning. She's not a minister, but it is indeed Good Morning Minister. But we have the most honorable, well, I'm not call her the most honorable, First Lady Juliet Holness. Good morning, Mrs. Holness.
Hi, good morning, Robert. Good morning, listeners.
I'm interviewing the wife of the Prime Minister, so I have to be on my best behavior. I'm going to fix my tie and fix my clothes because I don't want any reports to go back. Mrs. Juliet Holness, and her proper title is the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, Member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. I suspect she has a lot more. I think you have some ACCA.
Yes, I have FCCA, ACCA, MSc. I don't use any of those. I am someone who is happy to have no title.
So what is the no, but for the purpose of our listeners?
Fellow in a chartered accountant.
So you're a chartered accountant?
Qualified accountant.
So what is the other one? You mentioned another big one.
So it's FCCA is when you become a fellow, right, having had your ACCA, which is what is...
That's the 12 exam that you have to do.
Yes, the whole heap of exams.
It takes 5 years to do this.
Yes, but if you do a MSc, which I did, so I did an MSc in accounting,
right,
it's a short circuit and you only have to do a year or so, just the third year in qualifying for your ACCA.
So people may be wondering, why is the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, as we say, First Lady, is in the studio with us today?
Yes.
The First Lady, or the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, chairs a very important committee in Parliament. It is the committee that approves and examines the Constituency Development Fund. What is the Constituency Development Fund? So every year, members of Parliament have to submit to the CDF programs and plans that they have for their constituency. We get about $20 million allocated to the constituency, not to us. We don't get the money. We don't see it.
It don't go in your pocket.
It don't go in our pocket. It is allocated to the let me fix this properly first. It shipped off a while ago. TikTok is very important these days. So I have to make sure the people on TikTok know what is happening.
Right, so
there, so they can see us. Right. So the Constituency Development Fund is every year members of Parliament have to send in programs to the CDF office, and those programs are assessed. They look at the viability of them, whether they follow the government rules, and so on. And then Mrs. Holness has a committee that is populated with members of the opposition, members of government, and they go through these projects with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that they fulfill the requirements. But she knows more about it than I. But before we go to CDF, you're the member of Parliament for East Rural St. Andrew. Where is that?
East Rural St. Andrew is just about between St. Thomas. So persons have an appreciation. It is the last constituency that you would consider to be in Kingston. And why it's not Kingston, it's St. Andrew. It is because it is rural. It literally is Harborview coming from the airport just when you reach the roundabout of Harborview, and it stretches all the way to St. Thomas, and it stretches all the way back up by Constitution Hill and goes back into Mavis Bank and touches St. Thomas again. And it touches parts of Port Chuck's constituency all the way at Norbrook, and it comes back around and down through Gordon Town, then touches Fable Williams' seat at Eastern, where we have Kintyre, and it goes. It's a massive seat.
But you don't tell them about Heart's Delight.
No, so if I tell you all the communities, so my constituents know, I know every single community in the constituency. We have over 156 of them, and if I try to call them, some people are going to feel jealous. I know every single one, and I've visited every single one. So people who live in the seat will say, Mrs. Holness, but how you know about Rosses Valley? We never got there so yet. I said, yes, I go there because that is where the water spring from. So I have to go and check out the water source. So I know every single stitch of the constituency.
So hold on. So let's just start at the beginning. So you're on the border, right at the bridge between St. Thomas and St. Andrew. That's
Absolutely.
your border, right? So
Yes.
when you leave out, what is it, 9 miles?
Yes, then you reach 10 miles. So we go from Harborview 7 through to 10 miles. And when you leave 10 miles, you're in St. Thomas. And I have sections of my constituency that I have to drive through St. Thomas to get back
What's
to.
the name of that one on the hill there again, way on in the bush near St. Thomas?
You have two of them. So you have Somerset and you have Byton and Bloxborough from the Bull Bay side. And Somerset, you literally have to drive through St. Thomas to get there. We have had sections of the constituency that broke off in previous reigns, and there's no way to access it from St. Andrew anymore. So you have to access it from St. Thomas.
So you drive, you're now coming to Harborview, you reach the Harborview roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to Port Royal on the left, you're coming straight down. And where do you turn?
When you get to Harborview, either enter Harborview itself, or when you're on the roundabout, you literally pass Palisadoes, turn off, and continue straight into St. Thomas. And all of that is East Rural St. Andrew.
Right, so let us go from the other side now. So you're in Papine.
Mm-hmm.
Your office is in Papine.
Right. So let me help to break it down for you why it's so challenging. Because the constituency is big, but it's cut off on the way. So Harborview cut across the mountains all the way into the back with Augustown. So it comes across all of that mountain. So it doesn't travel through Kingston. It literally
Mountain View.
Right. So Mountain View Avenue is not, that goes back to Eastern. So it literally goes at the back of that mountain, and Harborview, Harbour Heights, Bayshore, Melbrook is on the hill going up. And then all of the Bull Bay hills now, which include St. Benedict's Heights, and 7 miles come all the way back to Dallas Castle, and it comes all the way across the hill into what is the Kintyre division, which has Dallas and Cane River and by to Bloxborough, Friendship Brookside, and then it goes over beside Eastern.
Well, how do you drive out this concept?
It is hard. It is hard. Yes, all the time. To campaign. In the campaign, it took more than 2 weeks to drive out the seat because the road conditions were awful when
you go up to
got the
Blue
seat.
Mountain, right?
I go all the way up to the Blue Mountain side. So it is massive. So you come across from Dallas Castle side, you literally, if you're driving it, we drive and come back at the Bridge of Hope River where we meet Eastern again. And then you can turn off and go into Kintyre proper, or you pass through Papine, which is not my constituency.
So Papine is not yours.
No, and a lot of people think it is.
Yours.
But Kintyre is.
But Kintyre and Papine is almost the same place.
They're like almost kissing. All right. But when you get now to Rasta Corner, right by Skyline Drive.
For those who don't know, Rasta
Skyline Drive is the official name. And on the right-hand side of Skyline Drive, everybody know Rasta Corner. And you see it, you see all the Rasta colors, and they hang out there and they play games, and you can buy things. Mr. Lou is fully owned. Yeah, man.
So that statue, you put it up?
No, me can't say me the government.
No, but you're the MP, and you would bad them say the MP fault. So if the statue go up, and the MP put up the statue.
And it was a pleasure to be a part of that process with the Ministry of Culture. I won't go gender, culture and entertainment and sports culture. Help also from tourism resources, the parish council, we were able to put up a massive statue in honor of Miss Lou. And more than that, literally creating a space with walkways of nice colored bricks, colored in the Jamaican colors, all the shops. It has really elevated the space. And so when tourists come, or for those of us who are local tourists like me, you get a chance to walk up and down in Garden Town and really feel a sense of upliftment and remembering the culture and where we come from in terms of our dialect.
So far, so we have dealt with, what is the biggest issue in East Rural?
Oh my, it's many, but I would say roads. We have, in terms of roads, I did the estimate once. The budget for the entire country for roads is what it would take us to fix the roads in East Rural if they gave it to us 1 year.
Mm-hmm. People are saying...
Yes, the road budget for the entire country, the road budget for the whole country, all of Jamaica, is what we would need.
So if the government decided to fix every road in East Rural, no other constituency would get a road.
Absolutely, that's what would happen.
That's a lot of roads.
Yes, it's a lot. A lot of them were designated farm roads, and even that makes it more challenging. So what I've done strategically, and you see, you asked me how the constituency stretch. Strategically, I've looked at the main roads. What connects you from St. Thomas back to Papine? What connects you from Mavis Bank back to Papine, Garden Town, and from Maryland and Woodford back to Papine or back over to Norbrook? And I've made it so that you can literally drive through the constituency faster because all our main roads are strategically slowly being repaired.
Well, a lot of the water that we drink come from your constituency.
All of the water that you drink coming from my constituency.
Because the Hope River, what's the other one?
No, the Hope River is a primary river coming down, and then the rest come from Yala side. So coming out of St. Thomas, the Yalas River,
to come through you.
Everything come through East Rural St. Andrew. And we still bawl that we don't have enough water because though we produce all the water, it is coming down in our rivers and aquifers and go over into the Mona Dam where it is processed for most of Kingston and St. Andrew. So we are very important people, East Rural St. Andrew.
But you're married to another important person who is the Prime Minister. How long have you been married?
26 years.
Oh, Mr. Holness, you don't look that old.
I am only 30.
You don't look that old. And you have children?
Yes, we have 2 sons. One graduated yesterday. He did IB studies. The other is off at university doing AI. He has always been a little computer whiz, and artificial intelligence is what he's interested in.
All right. So what is it like, though, being married to the Prime Minister?
It's not special. It's normal. Being married to the Prime Minister is just being married to my Andrew, and that's what it is for me.
Because you knew him when he used to...
Yes, well, we
I heard the story that
no,
we on a house top and
no,
you zinc,
Lord,
and you passing,
yeah,
and him interfere with you.
No. But I wasn't somebody who was interested in guys in high school, you know. I really never paid them much mind. But he was always someone that you would look up to.
So the zinc story is true?
It's true. He was on the rooftop, working on the rooftop, helping with the tarring. He would help with the workmen. And when I passed, I see him helping to renovate his mother's house. And I found that absolutely appealing as a young person.
With him,
no, you know, when I was supposed to go to the sixth form ball, my sister, for some reason, seemed to think he would have been a good and nice catch. She seemed to have known that he liked me. And she said, why don't you go with Andrew? And I said, all right, you know, I'll give him a try. And I told him, I think my sister actually told him that I would go with him to sixth form ball, and he said yes, and that was the start of a beautiful, beautiful relationship.
Well, don't tell us how many years ago.
32 years. No.
So you've been married how many years?
We have been married 26 years, and we dated for 7 years.
7 years?
Yes.
Mrs. Holness, you really met the man wait 7 years?
Yeah. We decided early.
7?
Whenever I have enough of a chance, I one day I'll write the book. My grandmother, and my mother was one, Andrew will tell you, who say that when the man want the milk and him can get it free, him don't bother buy the cow.
So but you had to buy
Jamaican,
the pasture.
all right, you have to buy the pasture. Yeah, man.
but it's a beautiful marriage. We've seen you guys out in public, and it's an inspiration to a lot of young people out there. And you have a beautiful family. But the people want to hear about why
CDF?
the CDF is important.
Well, before I move on to why the CDF is important, I'll encourage Jamaicans to continue to encourage family. It is actually what builds communities. It is what builds constituencies. So I will not leave this conversation, Minister Morgan, without encouraging Jamaicans start to rebuild the family. The family is critical to how we think, how we behave, our outlook on the future, and how we literally build Jamaica.
They are actually, right now, the highest number of people to have ever watched a TikTok live. Almost 400 people. Plus we have people on GIS, Facebook, Love FM. I didn't know you were that popular. You
No,
need to
I'm
come
not.
and host the show.
Not
So
enough.
tell us, CDF,
So CDF.
why is it important?
It's important. It would have been introduced by our former Prime Minister Bruce Golding at $40 million at the time. It's now only $20 million.
Do you know why they
Because
cut it?
always budgetary restrictions is a challenge, and having persons in our constituencies understanding what CDF is for and how it should operate, and even MPs is critical. So we are at 20 million, and there are upper and lower limits for so many different things.
Right.
CDF is supposed to be a quick response by members of parliament. So if you write to the agencies, every single thing we do through CDF, you should be able to get it through the ministry and agencies of government. However, sometimes it's not moving as fast. So you have a debt in the constituency and the person didn't realize that they could come and get help, and they only have 2 or 3 weeks to go. They can come to a constituency office and request help. If they write to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, which they can do, it may take them a little longer. So the idea behind CDF is an emergency response, a response in areas where you may have been advocating as a representative to, like NAA or to the Ministry of Agriculture, because you need to fix a road and you're not getting it at the speed that you would like. You can now look at your CDF with your community members, all your constituents, and say, all right, what do you guys think is important? And if they say this road, we just need $1 million to fix it, and it's a big thing for us, you can do it through your CDF. You can do school projects through your CDF, fencing, asphalting, but guess what? It's not a whole heap of money. And that is the important thing for persons to understand. So let us go through what the CDF areas are. First big one is infrastructure. You are allowed to spend no less than 2.5 million of your 20 million on infrastructure projects. You can spend a maximum of $10 million. Now, each seat is different. Some seats, infrastructure is not critical. Other seats, it is. So efforts are made to ensure MPs just don't go off and do whatever they feel like. You can't say, I'm not doing anything in terms of infrastructure. You see me, I want all of my money to be used for welfare. I'm only doing food packages. No, you're not allowed. Limits are set so that you must think of something sustainable that you can do to uplift the communities
Before you
in
go
the
into the
seat.
categories though,
Mhm.
so you give the MP the cash, and then the MP give the constituent the cash. That's how it works, right? Because that's what people say, that the MP get the money.
Oh, I realize that you want to dissuade persons. No. MPs will never get the cash. As a matter of
I want you
fact,
to repeat it again.
MPs will never get the cash. You will never get $1 in your pocket.
So MPs do not get CDF money in the pocket.
No time at all. You are either paying a contractor, and as we go through the categories, or your actual constituent. Either the check goes to the constituent, or it goes to the hospital, to the school, to the clinic, to wherever you're going to run the test, to the funeral home. It must be going to a third party that is not the member of parliament, that is not the member of parliament family, that is not the member of parliament friend.
Well, you know, the reason why I ask it that way is that I have heard MP getting money and no one give her MP thief up the money, or MP this. So it's very important for you to make it clear that MPs do not handle the money.
No, as a matter of fact, the rules are so stringent that you have to run a proper office and document everything that you do. So if you are doing something as basic under the welfare element of the program, you're doing food packages, you can't just get the money and give out the cash. You have to document who got the food package, how much was spent on average on the packages. You have to also give a quote of who will supply the items for the packages. So some persons will have the supermarket or the wholesale pack them for them. For me, it is actually far more beneficial to my constituents if we buy the stuff and then sit down and pack them out. Costs more, but we can stretch the money a little further. And you still have to document. So when I'm giving out food package, people say, Lord, Miss Holness, what you mean? Why me have to tell them my name? You have to, because though they know that I can't eat 2,000 pounds of flour, they still want me to show them who got the 2,000 pounds of flour. And that is the fact of it. And over time, people are getting to understand that government is functioning in a way that we are accountable. And a big part of that accountability is ensuring that the people who get the benefit genuinely needed it, and that they can track the persons who get it. And to be honest, sometimes I even call the beneficiaries. They'll call and say, come and collect your checks. The MP recommended, Mr. Morgan recommended that you get $10,000 under the care program, under welfare, or you need help with indigent housing, or you probably need help with some sort of small business. They call and they verify that individuals who we documented as having gotten a benefit actually got it.
So all right. So let us go through the steps. So a constituent has a need. They reach out to their MP's office and they visit the office. What happens then?
All right. So you have two needs, community-related needs and individual and personal needs. When you go to the MP's office, you're supposed to fill out what is called a needs assessment form, and you sign that form. If you're not able to read and write well, the office will help you read through and document for you, and you put your X at the bottom to mark that you are the one who signed for it. Phone number is there, who they should contact, and you document what your need is. The system has changed. CDF has further upgraded. Now, constituency secretaries and individuals who work in an office can no longer sign the need assessment form in putting that form to the CDF for processing. The member of parliament have to sign every single CDF request that comes in via that need assessment form. So the MP has a lot of administrative work to do. So if you get 1,000 requests, you have to sit down and you have to review that 1,000 requests and you sign. Now you have to sign based on how much money you have and the allocation for the different areas. So we'll go into those areas afterwards.
So all right. So let's say, well, it's back to school season and people are now interested in getting assistance. So let's say you're a parent and you have two children who are one going to university and one going to high school, and you go to the office. What happens there?
So persons would come every year and say they need help in terms of back to school. We no longer take school lists in terms of the book lists. I don't know for other MPs, it's very difficult for us. My constituency, we give out book vouchers, and then you use those vouchers to go to the bookstore. For everyone who needs school fee, we make every effort to help. Remember, under this government, we are putting a policy that $5,000 at high school is what you must try to find if you cannot afford the fees, and no child should be refused. And so I make a point of saying to my constituents, if you can't afford it, I will make sure that we provide that $5,000 from the Constituency Development Fund. You may not be able to even find $1. And we write to the schools and say, these are the individuals that we're making the commitment that we will pay the school fees for. Your needs assessment is done in the same way. It is then sent to SDC for me, Social Development, which is where our checks are processed. And the checks are processed, they come back to the office, and people could come and pick up their own check because it is written to the school, to the institution.
So it's not written to the parent?
It's never written to the parent or the child. Everything is written to the institution. And those checks, when they pick them up, they take them to the school. I don't allow them to come and pick up the checks because I found a far more efficient way. I batch all the checks and say, these checks are for Calabar. I have 40 checks to Calabar, the name of the students, the amount for each student, and the total on the check tallies to that, and it's sent. So parents don't have to go through the cost of traveling back to the constituency office and then having to travel down to the school. We try to manage that process for them. And so that is how we do the distribution as it relates to education assistance. I go further too to say if you're having a problem with any school, call us.
So how much money do you spend on education in your constituency?
The minimum for every single member of parliament under the CDF rule is 5 million of the 20 million.
So every MP must. I spend 8.
You can spend up to a maximum of 10. So the cap is 10,
yes,
but the minimum is 5. So no member of parliament can say, look, we don't really have any students needing education assistance. We don't need any book voucher. We don't need to give them any tablets. We can take that money and use it to do some roads because that's what we need, or we need housing. No, we have stipulated that a minimum of 5 million must be allocated to education because we value education.
So do you help tertiary students under CDF as well?
I do help tertiary students. It's very difficult. It is not so easy to give one person 200,000, 500,000, and $1 million. And every effort is made to ensure that whatever benefits you give, it is approximately the same amount that you give everyone in the constituency. So if you send in a request for $1 million for one child, and everybody else you give them $10,000, we are going to call you in for it. We will want to know what is that child to you and why they are so important and special.
So you give assistance to tertiary,
secondary students.
You give secondary.
Yes.
What? So all right. So
everything from basic school.
So we do education now.
Mm-hmm.
What about, let's say there's an elderly person in the constituency,
Mm-hmm.
and they die and they don't have any help. How does that work?
Persons also approach the constituency office for help with that benefit.
But before you go into that, we have a voice note on our WhatsApp line.
Mm-hmm.
I neglected,
Mm-hmm.
because I was so excited to do this interview, to give you the numbers. And it's 968-8327,
Mm-hmm.
968-8328, and our WhatsApp line is 876-997-3125. So let me go again. To call in to ask questions of the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, it's 876-968-8327, 876-968-8328, and to call our WhatsApp line or send a voice note or a WhatsApp message, it's 876-997-3125. Nadine, you have a call online.
Go ahead.
Caller?
Hello?
Yes, go right
Hello?
ahead.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Yes, we're hearing you.
I would like to speak to the Honorable Minister Oni.
Well, Mrs. Holness is on the line. You can go ahead.
Hello, I would like to speak to her off here. Ask her if I could leave my number and get back to me, please.
No problem. Well, we will take your number.
So I will say to any other caller, my constituency office number is up on every single social media platform. You can just take a look, just search for Juliet Holness and you'll find it. If you call down by the party headquarters, you'll get the number. Same at Parliament, you will get the contact number and you can reach me there.
Hello?
So, all right, Nadine, can you take her number and then we will reach out to her after.
We also have a voice note.
And we have a voice note, Mrs. Holness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, hello? Hello?
I think that's the same caller.
All right, so Mrs. Holness, so we've gone through education, but we're now at welfare.
All right. So I'm going to make sure that we wrap up by letting the public know all the categories, and it's easy to understand them. Infrastructure we discuss, education is one. It actually falls under what is called human and social development, which also include cultural activities, sporting activities for the development of the human being. Economic enablement, most people when they hear it, they don't know what that is. It's really help with small business. So the name economic enablement turns off a lot of persons, but it means if you need a $50,000 to be able to buy some equipment, some tools to help to fix your business, it can be done through the
Let's have a
CDF.
shop.
Shops are done through it as well. I'm going to go through them one by one. Disaster mitigation is also another. And we discussed some of welfare and emergency, which would include the funeral, if you flood out, if you need medical help, if you need prescription, if you need assistance with tool supply and some zinc and thing, because guess what? CDF has never been able to sustain in a big way building a house. And you know already, Minister Morgan, that I have exciting news about how I am using CDF for the first time in history to build at least 3 houses for my constituents.
3 houses.
Yes, and I'll tell you how.
So all right. So and I'm watching the TikTok and thing. Oh, you have the voice note now.
Yes, play the voice note first.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Miss MP. I am calling from Top Road, Mavis Bank. Mrs. Holness, if rain do not fall, we don't get no water in Top Road. No water at all if rain do not fall, please, ma'am. And we needed the pharmacy down by the health center. So we'd like to know what happened to the pharmacy. We have to go all the way to Garden Town to get the medication, please. We asking you, please, if you could open back the pharmacy down by Mavis Bank Health Center. And we're not getting no water in Top Road from pipe.
Hold on. So give me
a little rain. Please, Mrs. Holness, may I beg you.
If she's repeating it, that's all. So let me answer. I hope you are listening. As it relates to water at Top Road, remember, we would not have been getting NWC water because there were pipes not sufficiently connected to be able to do so. We started a process of piping from Clivesdale coming all the way around, and in recent times we were able to connect coming from Mount Fletcher side. So you're supposed to be able to get water, and I had checked, you have been able to get water at Top Road. If you're not getting any more, you would have to tell me why so that I can check it. And I will go and check with NWC. So the water pressure is not going to be high. It is not going to come into your homes. But what they did was to carry to some of the special stands where persons could get water at Top Road, which is fairly rural. Now, once I was informed that connections for the pipes keep bursting, and they have gone back and fixed. So I will touch back base with NWC, and I will come and speak with the community again. We have met on the water issue more than once. We are not going to stop until we get water to every single house at Top Road, because we have meters there. So it means that 40 years ago, water was there. We can get water back to the citizens at Top Road. For the clinic, the prescription medication that persons used to be able to fill at the pharmacy, not since COVID have we been able to fill them there, because they are downsized the clinic during COVID period. We have actually written to the Ministry of Health, and I will follow up as it relates to the pharmacy as to why we do not have it re-established yet, and I'll get back to you on that.
All right, so we have a WhatsApp message. To you. Good morning, Minister. First, I must congratulate you for knowing your constituency, which a lot of MPs don't. Secondly, I like the idea of MPs not handling the funds, because a lot of times there is mishandling of funds, and this is from Vicky. So she's referring to the CDF. And also, I want to, every week, Nadine, I have to tell the people on TikTok that the Woods Road is not mine. I know I fix a lot of roads, but the Woods Road is not mine. However, the National Works Agency have assured me that they'll be doing some repairs on the road urgently because they recognize the issues. We also have from Ashley, who says, good morning. My question is, how can I apply for a farm work program? I'm certified in early child education, housekeeping, and also a phlebotomy technician. Do you have any advice for Vicky?
Vicky,
this one is Ashley.
Well, actually, the most asked question in every single constituency is, how can I apply for a farm work card? That is the most asked question of all. So it is not all farm work. There is a hotel program, and if you are trained and certified, especially if you have some amount of heart training, if you haven't gotten it from anywhere else, and you make an effort, even for a limited period of months, to try to intern with a hotel or guest house, so you have actual experience, you can apply under that program. You can apply directly through the Ministry of Labour or through your Member of Parliament. Now, as it relates to directly farm work, we find more men get through for the program than women, because it is usually based on what the farms require. So sometimes we get funny requests like they need somebody who is no more than 90 pounds, that is no taller than 5 feet, because they want them to be very petite, picking strawberries, and they're keeping it low. And so it really depends on what the farms want.
Before you complete, we have a call on the.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
Good
Yes,
morning.
go ahead.
Are you speaking to me? Hello?
Yes, good morning. Welcome to Good Morning, Minister.
Hi, how are you? All right, I was just calling in regard to an area in Kentire, Campview Avenue, where the road has fallen, as in it's dropped.
What is that?
No, is in Kentire proper. I know exactly where it is.
So you're aware of the problem?
No, I don't know the road dropping. When you say the road drop, what do you mean? I want to make sure that it's not something that has happened in the last week or two.
No, man, no. It has happened some time ago, so it's just like a slope.
All right, so you're talking about the piece that go around to Back Road?
So around Campview, where the camp is?
No, Campview Road coming down, all right? And it comes down to the shop. Is that the area you're speaking about?
It's, how do I explain? You know where the square is, and you go up on that hill, and you're heading as if you're heading to the campsite?
Yes.
That takes you to almost to Garnton Road, but by foot. It's not by vehicular traffic.
It's by foot.
Right. It's Campview Road, where it dropped. The road dropped, so it's like a slope.
Yes. But what is your concern about there?
The road has fallen. There's a slope there, right? And it's very difficult for traffic, for vehicles to go up and to go down on that road. And my grandmother lives around there, and she has fallen twice trying to traverse that road. So, and she's been to your office quite some time to get some answers as to, if there's any plans for it or not.
I am going to make sure I know exactly where you're speaking about, because I am thinking of two possible spaces. And one is closer to the square, where there is no road anymore that goes around to Back Road by Tai section. All right? There is no possibility of driving there anytime soon.
No, not there.
I have.
Not there.
Mm-hmm.
Not that spot.
So you know what I'll do? I'll ask you to just send me some pictures under WhatsApp to the office number, and then I'll get back to you from that.
All right.
I think that's the best bet.
I'm not there, but it's...
So we know exactly where you're looking at.
Yeah, because she's been trying to reach you for quite some time.
Send a WhatsApp to the office, we will get it, and just send the pictures.
All right, so it didn't take some time because I'm not in the area, so I might have to get there to get the actual...
No, man, you don't have to worry about
We'll
it.
take your number.
We'll take your number.
And we'll have the office reach out to you. I think we have another one.
What's the number?
No, we'll take your number. Give us your number.
To give you on here?
All right, so we
Oh.
Not online.
Oh, good morning, Mrs. Holness. I want to ask a question. I would like to know if it's not all the MP and the councillor them get anything to work on the road them year by year or whatever it may be, because we have two, a MP and a councillor, Mrs. Juliet Cockburn and Mr. John Myers. And may I tell you, there is a two worst MP and councillor I ever see in our district, Doncaster, Montogo. Them no business with no time at all. When we would work with 2 times, them don't look at the citizens have to do it in Doncaster. Right now, foot walker can hardly walk in Downcastle, and the two of them don't turn the black of them eye. No time at all, no time at all. So I don't know if them don't get any money to deal with our consequences. So I'm asking you, please, if them don't get.
All right, so I can answer for callers generally. This was a voice clip. Members of Parliament, only allocation that they're able to do any sort of direction of how they want to impact the constituency is exactly what we were discussing, the Constituency Development Fund. It cannot fix road. If you're able to do a road out of it, it will be 1 million, 2 million, or you'd have to be doing that road over a period, especially in constituencies like a West Rural and East Rural, and all the rural seats in particular, based on the volume of roads we have and the condition of the roads that we have. So if you remember at the beginning, I said 10 million is the maximum on infrastructure. Now in rural seats, here is a challenge. While you have terrible roads in rural seats, and a large road network, those are the seats that also need significant help with farmers, significant help with the children for school, significant amount of food packages, help with death benefits. Seats that are not middle class, upper class, are usually the seats, and particularly my experience is almost all our rural seats are seats that need a lot in welfare support out of the Constituency Development Fund. So do not think that your MPs can fix everything, and they can fix it at the pace sometimes that you would like. And the fact that something is not fixed doesn't mean that they haven't turned the black of their eye. It means that they know of the problem and they would have communicated it to the NWA. I will also point out to the MP in question and the councillor that you have identified an area and that they should come and speak with the community. Because what I have done in my own seat, like my Robertsfield Road, I have for 6 years gotten a grant. For 6 years I've been advocating between JSIF and the Ministry of Finance and NWA, and I haven't gotten anywhere yet. But guess what? I go back to the community and tell them each year, we don't reach anywhere yet. This is where we reach. This is what we can do in the meantime. And I know the condition is bad. Right now, I know I can't go up there. I cannot go there unless I get a backhoe to go and try and level out some of it. And I've been working for the last 6 years to get that road fixed. So it doesn't mean they're not working. It just means that resources are limited. I will take the time to say, many times in my constituency I have to explain, when we in Jamaica used to waste money, we didn't understand how far back we were going. Years gone by, we had money we were borrowing and we didn't spend it well as a country. We have gone a far way from there. We are doing extremely well. We are growing the country, which gives us far more resources to be able to do the things that we want to do for our communities. And this is without charging additional taxes to do so. So I will tell persons, reach out to your MPs, reach out to your councillors, but understand that the resources they get themselves is limited. Councillors in the parish council for KCMC, their allocation between road and all of the other benefits is about $10 million, while the MP's allocation is 20. And I can tell you, if the councillor is able to do one road for the year, they will not be able to do more than one. They will not be able to do 2, 3, 4 roads in a division. And that gives you a sense of how challenging it is to expect that they themselves will fix it. So I heard Prime Minister yesterday announcing the role of a member of parliament and giving us job descriptions, and the same for cabinet ministers. And I want people to start have the discussions with their councillors and their MPs, so you get a better sense of what do we have to do to be able to get the agencies to do certain things, and why it is their responsibility to get some things executed, and that your role as the MP or the councillor is really to make representation. You will never get the money. It will never come to you to be able to just go out there and do certain things.
Somebody's asking, and this is not related to you, but where's the St. Thomas Road? We're spending how much billion on St. Thomas to get this? We're doing the largest investment in St. Thomas since history.
Yes.
the road from, is it Harborview?
Well, it runs from Harborview right at the roundabout. If you're going to Norman Manley Airport, you would know that roundabout because it goes to the airport. It runs all the way from Harborview and it goes straight through to Yellows, all the way to Portland actually.
Right.
So think about the southern end of the island. That road is now a massive highway. It will allow in many spaces for 4-lane traffic. It is reconfigured going over hills where you would have had no space to be able to expand in the way that we would like to. And you are seeing a lot of recent pictures Prime Minister toured recently, massive parts of the road. It is looking very, very good, and it is going to bring significant development to St. Thomas and into Portland.
But additionally, not only that, but we're actually building a new town in St. Thomas, a brand new town. So Mrs. Holness, we don't want to let the time run out because I know people are calling about many other things and we have to respond. You were saying something, Nadine?
Messages.
Oh, we have another message. Right. Well, it's Mrs. Holness, I tell you, you're very popular now. Good morning, MP. I think distribution of vouchers needs to be explained because many people ask why is just a little bit of voucher them get. Slick media. And I also saw this comment on TikTok as well, say like 5,000 I can't buy. But Mrs. Holness, I want to start because I'm an MP. Last year, I paid school fees, assisted with paying of school fees through the CDF to over 200 students. I gave out approximately vouchers to approximately 400 students. You know, when I did the calculations through the CDF, I was able to help about 700 students with either book vouchers, uniform vouchers, back to school assistance, tuition grants, and tertiary grants. So while to some persons, a little $5,000 is nothing, to a lot of families who need one extra book, the little maths book where they don't have, every make a muck, you know.
Well, you're able to do better than me. So in my constituency, they will tell you that they would have been getting 2,000 last year. I went to 3. And why that happens is this. And I explain it to my constituents. It is something that is critical to bring your constituents into an understanding of the approach and hear from them if they are comfortable with that approach. If I give 5,000 to 100 persons and decide I'm going to give them a $5,000 voucher, that is $500,000 that is gone. When they get $5,000 each. When I spend, if my allocation for book vouchers is $4 million on average, that's about what I would do. And I give $3,000 vouchers, I am able to give 1,300 children a voucher.
And they can buy it and they can use it to buy ruled exercise because a lot of kids, we take it for granted, you know, Nadine, that there are a lot of families out there who just the ability to go into a bookstore and buy 5 hardcover books and a pencil and some pencils and sharpeners, that a lot of families cannot afford it. The CDF is not for those who have, it's for those who need, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of persons have to appreciate that, yes, you may in a position where you can probably buy the book list and it's very difficult for you, but you can afford it. There are persons who cannot even buy one book on that book list, Mrs. Holness. And that's the purpose of the CDF. The CDF is a kind of emergency assistance for persons who are the most vulnerable.
And again, as I said, it depends on the constituency, and rural seats have far more people who are genuinely in need. If you double the amount you give on a voucher, it means you have cut in half the number of people who will be able to benefit. So if you give instead of 5,000, you decide to go to 10,000, and last year you were able to help 400 children, now you will be able to only help 200 children, and that is what it is. CDF is no matter what limited and finite, but let's help you some more. Remember, you can write to the Ministry of Education. You do get help from the Ministry of Education with school fees, and you balance yourself. If you're getting help with the school fee, then you use the money for your books. If you are able to get somebody to assist you and say, okay, I will do the bags and the uniform or whatever, then you use the money for the books. And still try to find out if there are rentals. And I remember I used to borrow books, and I used to wrap my books when I got them so neatly that I could pass them on to a student coming up after me. So here are books. and share them if possible, because very little changes in the curriculum from year to year, and we can pass on books in the way that we used to do in days of old. But CDF, no matter what, is very limited. Now, I thought the caller would have asked about who gets these vouchers, because most times that's a quarrel I hear. I have never seen about a voucher. Most people tell you it's just the people who in the politics know it, and it's the people who close who know it. And so I do a system of ensuring everybody can come throughout the year and write down that they need help with book vouchers, and we assess and see which families genuinely need it. There was a time gone by when people used to stop at the bookstore and sell the book vouchers and make sure it is so hard for you to sell it because you only get one. By the time you pay the fare and go downtown to sell the voucher, the money for the voucher finish. It is very important that those who genuinely need it are the ones who come, and when you get it, do not waste it, because there are persons who are genuinely in need, and that one voucher means the world to them.
So there are some questions, and I want to manage this one because it's important that we address it. I see Tamar, who says, unfortunately, it does not serve all those who need. If Mrs. Holness is being honest, she will know that not all our constituents benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mrs. Holness, so let's say you are supposed to spend $8 million on back to school. How many students you think in your constituency? I have 22 schools in mind.
I have 16 schools.
So each school have an average of about 1,000 kids.
And I'm going to cut it to 500.
500 kids.
And then I have schools that students in my constituency go to outside, like Papine, that is not in my constituency.
So you get $8 million. So you spend $8 million, mm-hmm. and you have
so what
8,000 students. So let us divide. Let's just use 8,000. Divide the 8,000 by the 8 million. How much is that?
No, but you have 8,000 students. You are going to be able to give $1,000 to
so each. If we gave every student in Mrs. Holness constituency
but we get a
benefit from CDF, as the person who texted us said, each student would get $1,000,
yeah.
whether they needed it or not. And this is the point we're making. So the benefit cannot be given to everyone, because the government does not have the ability, or the government doesn't have the financial resources. Remember where we're coming from very difficult times. So a lot of the little money that we get is to help the most vulnerable. So we will not be able to give everyone, but we try our best to give as many as possible. We're running out of time, Mrs. Holness, but we have just one or two more questions. My name is Marsha from Maryland. Thanks a million for helping with the water. I used to have to go to the river to wash my clothes and bathe. I am telling you, it wasn't a good experience. I am forever grateful for the water in my pipeline. The pressure is so heavy, it often bursts up the pipe. But we don't care. We will fix it. Stacy and Knight. And then there's another person with concerns. We hope River. But Mrs. Holness, I'm going to forward a lot of these numbers and these concerns to you. It's been a very wonderful show. We had a couple thousand people online watching us. We've had a lot of people. Love 101 is where on the chart again, Nadine? Yeah, number 6 on the chart. So that's the 6th most popular station in Jamaica. A lot of people in Jamaica watching us. Want to thank the people. And on Love TV as well. We're also on Love TV. Want to thank the people on TikTok. Want to thank the people on Facebook, on YouTube. Want to thank the people on JS. So many people to thank. So many people watching us. Want to thank let me do it properly. The Most Honorable Juliet Holness, ACCA,
FCCA, MSc, BSc.
My God. You know, when I was growing up,
I use none of it.
My grandmother said, make sure when you grow up, you have a little alphabet behind your name. You know, so it's always good for black people to have alphabet behind them.
But you have never seen anything behind my name.
I've never seen you use it, which is a good thing. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Mrs. Holness. Any final words, Mrs. H?
It is always a pleasure to serve. Coming up from a childhood of working in the church and serving my community, it is actually very natural to be a member of parliament. You have to love people to be able to do this job. Genuinely love people. And I look forward to continuing to serve. For those in my constituency, I will encourage you. We have an office. Reach out to the office when you have issues, but also be mindful that we are not able to do every single thing at the same time, at the same pace. Work with us as we work with you. Members of Parliament right across the country have a very good understanding of their individual seat and what is required in terms of their CDF, and they do keep their CDF consultation meetings. Continue to consult your constituents and find out if there are areas that they would want you to add to your focus coming from your CDF spend.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Holness, and thanks to all our listeners. Thanks to the people online. Thanks to Nadine. Nadine, you're going to take us out with something nice and lovely and refreshing. Some refreshing spiritual food to nourish us for the rest of the day. Until next week, we will be here at 11 o'clock on Love 101, the family station. Ask the Minister. Thank you all for listening. Nadine.
Yes.
Well, good morning, Minister. While I'm mixing up my shows. Take it away, Nadine.